I am the greatest.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
You won't do shit. Just stick and move. And waking you up and saying, now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
Welcome to a new episode of the Stick and Move podcast. I'm your host, Trey, here with my homeboy, Sam. And today we are talking about the top 3 US of A boxers of all time. Sam, punch me in the face with the KO. Who is your number 3 and why? Talk to me, brother.
My number 3, man, is Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, bro.
Wow.
He is from Norfolk, Virginia, bro. 84 Olympic gold. I mean, the guy has, in my opinion at least, and it's gonna, get a couple of people, mad at me, but he was robbed. He was robbed by the Chavez fight. He was robbed by the De La Hoya fight.
Really? De La Hoya, huh?
Yeah. Pernell Whitaker, probably the best defense ever. Some say,
Really?
greater than Mayweather's. I mean, the guy was a dynamic boxer, great defense, bro, and with a great trainer. And he was robbed, bro. And he was robbed of his biggest fights in his career. And the guy was dynamic since the Olympics, and I just loved watching the guy, man. The guy was awesome. I got Pernell Whitaker as my number 3.
You know what I love about that 1984 Olympic group, bro? Not only having Taylor and Evander Holyfield, which Evander Holyfield, I think, won bronze, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Mark Breland.
Breland, right? Of course, Whitaker. Do you know who the backup heavyweight fighter was, bro?
Who was it?
Mike Tyson, brother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was the reserve. Of course, he never got called in. Thank God. He probably would have killed the other guy. But as far as your pick, Pernell Whitaker, oh, man, I think that's just a little too high, brother. Honestly, I thought he lost to De La Hoya. I would have De La Hoya over him in terms of greatest USA fighter. De La Hoya was proud to represent the USA on his trunks. He never just, to what I can recall, he never just wore Mexico trunks. He wore half and half, if not just America. I would actually put De La Hoya over Pernell Whitaker. I'm not saying he's my number 3, but I could think of other couple of fighters. I don't know what your number 2, number 1 are. I think we're going to cross over a couple of times, but what else made you think that Pernell Whitaker is the 3rd greatest American fighter of all time, besides the robberies and such?
Yeah, no, I mean, the way he represented the country, okay. I mean, the where he was from, bro. And the people loved him. The guy was, he was a fantastic fighter, bro. He was a champion. The guy, bro, was robbed of a brighter future. And remember, this is my picks. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of top American boxers, but these are my picks that I got on the top of my head. And I just, I picked them personally because I like this style of fighting.
Okay.
What I'm saying?
I like that, actually. That's awesome. I love it. Good controversy. I love that. I mean, I think we're going to get a lot of comments on that, but you know what, bro? I think people would say that's too high for him, but I don't think people would hate. I don't know any boxing fan that hates Pernell Whitaker, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who does. Maybe because of the robberies and so on. But my number 3, I'm going to go. Hey guys, Trey here. If you love today's controversial episode and you want to see our channel grow, please drop a like, subscribe, and also comment. Sam and I are always going back and forth with those commenters on our controversial topics and opinions, and we love it so much. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe, most importantly, so our channel can grow and we can give you guys the best content as possible. Sam and I were always uploading multiple videos a week, and we want to continue doing that, and we need your help. So go ahead and subscribe, guys. And most importantly, like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby. Muhammad Ali, brother. All right. Now look, Cassius Clay out of Louisville, Kentucky, bro. The only reason why he became a boxer was because when he was a kid, somebody stole his bike and he wanted to go find the guy and beat him up. And some dude told him, I don't know if it was an uncle or a pastor or something like that, told him, you need to go to the boxing gym to release all that rage. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. If that did not happen, how would boxing have been so different? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not to mention, there's two variations of this guy. For Muhammad Ali, bro, I mean, this is a guy who, before his suspension, right? When he was in his peak prime condition, when he was fighting fighters like Chuvalo and Cleveland Williams, Ernie Terrell, Patterson, Archie Moore, I know those most of them were all aged out at that time. But bro, he looked almost unstoppable. Did he get dropped one time? Okay, fine, right? But that's the heavyweight division. Tell me a heavyweight that never went down besides Chuvalo, right? If I'm not mistaken. But look, what Muhammad Ali did to the sport, I'm not going to talk about the politics, bro. For most heavyweight champs, they were mostly flat-footed, bangers, thumpers. This guy brought movement into the ring. Have you ever seen him when he would fight awkward-footed boxers and then they tried to jump around with him as well? I mean, it looks like a baby giraffe just being born for the first time, their legs just wobbling all over the place, and Muhammad Ali just peppering them to death. Not to mention, he goes and fights the boogeyman so early on in his career. Sonny Liston gives him a beating into the 6th round, and Sonny Liston pretty much saying the American version of no mas, right? Comes back for the rematch directly afterwards and knocks him out with that iconic first round knockout that I used to have a big old poster of in my room. You remember that? And I don't know, dude. He changed boxing. He put a style to it. This is a guy that after his suspension, after 5 months after his suspension and having two tune-up fights, he challenges Joe Frazier in the fight of the century. Yeah. Joe Frazier won with that leaping left hook that knocked him on his ground on the 14th or 13th or 14th round, if I'm not mistaken. But he comes back, wins the second one, wins the third one, has been in numerous boxing fights that will transcend not only boxing but sports history in Thriller in Manila, Rumble in the Jungle, and so on. I don't know, dude. To me, Muhammad Ali, no doubt, should be on everybody's top 3, if not number 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali, bro. I had him also as a choice, but I didn't want to go too obvious. But I'm glad you got him. Dude, the guy was so light on his feet, bro. He was having fun in the ring. What I loved is his communication with the crowd, and he was a great showman, and he was great with the mic. His words, his motivation, his motivational speeches. I mean, the Phantom Punch. Well, that's a little controversial. The Phantom Punch, but I mean that's a great pick, bro. He's arguably one of the greatest American boxers of all time. So I get it.
I'm cool with it, man. I'm cool with it. So, all right. So, what is your number 2, my man?
My number 2 is Roy Jones Jr.
Ooh,
Roy Jones Jr., bro, is the only boxer that went from light middleweight and to get a title at heavyweight, bro. This guy fought everybody, bro. This guy, Vinny Paciencia, Bernard Hopkins, James Toney, Montel Griffith, he beat Trinidad. I mean, this guy was great, bro. He was Superman, bro. Roy Jones Jr., what was it? 66 wins, 9 losses, 47 knockouts, I think it is. I mean, when the guy was just making people look silly, bro. You know, he was making people look silly. He beat John Ruiz. I mean, the guy was just an amazing boxer. His reflexes, his speed, his defense, people couldn't catch him. I mean, the guy utilized the whole ring, the hands behind his back, which a lot of, you know, like in a way, people that are mimicking his fighting style. I mean, the guy was top notch, bro. Honestly, man, I don't know if this is correct to say, but I feel he's undervalued and he's underrated, bro.
Right,
You know,
right.
when people mention the greats of all time, you'll hardly hear anybody say Roy Jones.
It's true.
But
It's true.
yeah, I mean, that's just what I've seen and heard. But for me, he's my number two, bro. That guy brought so much excitement to the boxing ring, man. It was just amazing.
What, you know, we had an episode, is he overrated? And the reason why we had that episode, because I think our second or third most popular episode was the most overrated boxers of all time, and we didn't have him on there. But most of the comments, well, I don't want to say most, but like 30% of it was, where's Roy Jones? Where's Roy Jones? He fought nobody in the 90s. And I'm like, dude, he beat James Toney in the 90s, brother. You know, he did not. I mean, he went up to fight Reese when he was, and people would say when he went up to heavyweight, that ruined him because he had to come back down
Yeah.
to super lightweight. I mean, to super to the lower division. I'm just drawing a blank right now, to light heavyweight. And bro, I have, you know, he is vastly underrated because like Muhammad Ali, like my number three. And it was so funny when I was talking about Muhammad Ali, how he changed boxing. You know, I was also thinking of Roy Jones too, brother, because he brought a sense of athleticism. He brought style into the ring, and he brought a charisma factor that has really been unmatched since, I mean, I would say Floyd Mayweather had it, of course, but when it came to getting into those fights, he put on a show
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
for the fans and for the viewers. You know, we had an episode, is Mayweather the greatest of all time? And, you know, yeah, he put a lot of boxers to sleep. And you mentioned how Pacquiao was the most exciting boxer. You can argue that Roy Jones was just as exciting as Manny Pacquiao when it came to his bouts in the 90s and early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? At least for me.
Yes, I agree 100% because it was the fighting style of Roy Jones. I mean, he could either look, bro. He was the only guy that can go corner to corner and hit you without you even noticing, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he would brawl. You want to throw, you know, you try to hit Roy Jones, bro, more than likely you're gonna miss and you're gonna catch one.
Right.
And the guy was just a great fighter, man. He's my number two.
I'll say this, bro. He was also one of those guys, bro, that he is underrated when it comes to counter punching, brother. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that I think is overlooked. And I think you're right. I actually think he's underrated because he's never on the top Mount Rushmore, top 3, top 5, top 10 greatest American boxers or top greatest boxers of all time. So I see him. I love your number two, brother. I'm okay
Yeah,
with that.
and he's a great commentator. Go ahead.
Oh, phenomenal. He needs to come back too. But dude, we're losing networks, man. All right. So my number two is Joe Louis, brother, the Brown Bomber from Lafayette, Alabama. Now, one thing that I love about this guy that a lot of people don't really talk about, bro, was that he was the heavyweight champ from 1937, to 1949, a
Wow.
12-year run, 11 and a half, almost 12-year run of him being the guy. This is the guy you can arguably say was just as important as Babe Ruth in that early 20th century turn where sports was finally taking over um, um, the media, right? There was the Yankees and Babe Ruth, and then you could say it was Joe Louis and boxing. probably one of the first major boxers of all time, with the exception of Jack Dempsey and so on, and which Dempsey could be on this list too. But, bro, one thing that I cannot ignore about this guy is his world record of having, I think it was 25 consecutive straight heavyweight challenges, title defenses. I mean, bro, I don't even think that's can be touched ever again. I think that's one of those unbreakable records. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but man, this is a guy that took on all challenges into his boxing career. You have any thoughts on Joe Louis on that?
Yeah, bro. Joe Louis, man. It was a shame that he fought Rocky Marciano
I was thinking
when
that too.
not in his prime, and Joe Louis was not in his prime,
No,
and
no.
yeah, but bro, when you talk about boxing, when somebody talks about boxing, somebody that knows boxing, Joe Louis is on the Mount Rushmore, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And I mean, bro, he was fighting in a time where it was tough for an African American, a Black American to be fighting, bro, and having the fans that he had and being loved by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was just a different dynamic back in the day. And dude, the guy is he's a pillar in the boxing world, bro. He's a cornerstone.
I love how you use that word pillar, bro, and how you brought up his struggle being an African American fighter during this time. I was reading when I was doing research, and we talked about Joe Louis many times on our podcast, and I'll say this about Joe Louis, brother, is that he knew that he was probably 2 or 3 most famous person in the world at that time, especially in America, and being an African American and doing so.
Yeah.
He was carrying a sport, brother. It's not like Babe Ruth, where Babe Ruth was carrying baseball, and all of a sudden, I mean, Joe Louis was a little bit after Babe Ruth, but all of a sudden, but Babe Ruth was, he was a white man, and Joe Louis, he purposely told himself, whatever I do, I cannot take pictures with white women or white children, because he knows that he has a responsibility to the African American community, the Black community, to get acceptance into the boxing world. And it would translate, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the first, I think he was actually the first African American, I could be wrong, to play professional, or at least play in those celebratory golf tournaments where it was mostly a white sport, and he was the first one to cross over, if I'm not mistaken. I know he was the first African American to get a PGA card, professional golfing card. But look, going back to his boxing, bro, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, Max Schmeling. They made a big old movie about it. It's already been done a million times. There's been documentaries based on the importance and the influence of this fight. Look, he loses to him, I think, in 1936, right? In the height of what the Nazi party was going on before preluding to World War II. Then he takes him on during World War II, knocks him out in the first round, changes the course of not only boxing history, but sports history and American history. I teach world history. I've taught American history. I've taught U.S. history. And we got chapters in there talking about the influence of that fight of Joe Louis. Is one of my favorite times to talk about as a teacher, when I get to educate my students about who and the importance of Joe Louis, that fight right there was just as important as Jackie Robinson crossing the color barrier into boxing. Muhammad Ali gets a lot of the shine when it comes to his contribution to the civil rights. At 100%, he did. Him, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and so on and so on. But, man, Joe Louis had to walk through the fire so that Muhammad Ali and the others can do what they did during the civil rights era 20, 25 years later, 30 years later, and change American, not even sports society, but American society in general. So look, going back to his boxing, he fought everybody, dude. He beat Walcott twice. He beat Ezra Charles. He beat Max Baer. He beat Primo Canera, if I'm not mistaken. He beat Braddock. I mean, he fought everybody he can. Yes, you're right. It was a shame that his last fight was against Marciano, where he was already aged out. But that's what boxing is, right?
Yeah,
Handing the baton. And he handed that baton to Marciano, and then, the rest is history. So that is my number 2. Talk to me, brother. Who is your greatest American U.S. fighter of all time?
Bro. And when this guy got into boxing, he went from the 1976 Olympic gold medalist, bro. The Pan American game gold, brother. He represented America. America loved him, at least from what I saw. And it was Sugar Ray Leonard, brother. Sugar Ray Leonard, bro.
Wow.
He, bro. He had a beautiful style. He had speed. He had footwork. He had the looks. He had a great, one of the greatest trainers of all time. He fought. He was part of the 4 monsters. He was a fighter of the decade in the 80s. I mean, the guy, bro, fought everybody, bro. My favorite fight, people talking about, the 4 monsters of the 80s of Duran and Hagler and Hearns. Mine was Wilfredo Benitez. Right. That was my fight. That was a fight that I saw between Leonard and Benitez, that I saw the will, the skill, the heart of a champion from both fighters. But dude, Leonard is for real. For me, he's always been, my number 1. I love his style. You know what I'm saying? I love his style. And I can arguably, now that I think about it, I can understand an argument nobody mentions this. But I want to be probably the first one to mention it at least. I wouldn't argue the fact that somebody call him the greatest ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue it, bro. I wouldn't argue it. I mean, the guy fought everybody, bro. And his speed, same thing I said earlier. His speed, his agility. He was loved by everybody, and he's my number 1 American boxer, that we've had.
Look, when you were talking about Pernell Whitaker, I was like, dude, he picked Pernell Whitaker over Sugar Ray Leonard, because I thought you were going to go another route on your number 2 and your number 1. But I'm glad you actually chose Sugar Ray Leonard. And, I'm going to shout out one of our commenters, because he commented on our episode where we talked about Hagler versus Leonard. His name is @Henry-Bo3NP. Probably said it wrong, but I apologize. And he states that when he watched the fight, it's already that both fighters were actually juiced at the time, that they were both using PEDs at that time. Okay. And the reason why I bring this up into your conversation as him being number 1 is, I don't know if I can agree with him being number 1, because this is what I'll say. I'm not saying that he was on PEDs like Henry just stated, but for him to take 3 years off and then come back to fight Hagler and win that fight. And look, this is the late 80s, man. This is when steroids was dropping like flies, or people were taking them like Tic Tacs, Remember the Olympics with Flojo and
but everybody was on him.
Yeah, everybody was on him.
Yeah.
But I can also understand why you have Sugar Ray Leonard, because, bro, he did what Muhammad Ali did, in the sense of Muhammad Ali brought celebrity. I mean, there was always celebrities attracted to boxing anyways, But dude, he brought the Hollywood elite with that golden smile, top 5 smile in sports history, entertainment history, in my opinion. But bro, you're right, bro. He fought everyone, whether he was juiced or not. We'll see. I mean, that's a conversation for another day. But he did fight everybody, and he beat everybody. Yes, he lost to Hearns, but he beat him the first time. He lost him the second time. He wasn't afraid to go back, even after a defeat. All right, you think you won? All right, I'll give you another shot, win or lose. He did it with Duran. Duran defeated him, made him lose the second time. Now I know there's controversy on that fight because Duran took the fight late and had to lose like 500 pounds in 2 months, whatever. But he took the fight, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Hagler, Benitez, I mean, you name it, he took on everybody. And he always did it with fashion and style. So, yes, I think it's a little too high. Yes, there is controversy in his career, but I don't mind him being your number one. I'm contradicting myself all over the place, but I can see it. I can see why he's your number one.
I just can't deny the most beautiful fight I've ever seen in my life between him and Benitez. I cannot deny that. That was probably one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life. And I cannot forget that second wind that he got with Hagler. I just can't deny it.
It's true. It is true.
I just can't deny it, bro.
It is true.
I got him as my number one. I mean, the guy is red, white, and blue, bro. And people loved him. Everybody loved him.
Yeah. I'm cool with that, my man.
All right. So what's your number one?
My number one is Walker Smith Jr. from Ailey, Georgia, a.k.a. Sugar Ray Robinson. The other Sugar, the original Sugar Ray Robinson. Look, this is a guy famous for, his many bouts with Jake LaMotta. 6 times, if I'm not mistaken, right? But after that defeat, bro, he would win 80 fights, and he was at one point 174-1, brother. He held the welterweight title from 1946 to 1951. He was the middleweight champ 5 times in between, if I'm not mistaken, 1951 to 1960 or 59, if I'm not mistaken. This is a guy who changed and evolutionized boxing, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like when you talk to all the great boxers, who the greatest is, it comes down usually to 2 people. It's either Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson, and there is a reason for that. This is a guy that would fight 5, 10, sometimes 12 to 15 times a year.
He has his own award too, trophy.
Exactly, bro. I mean, at one time, like I also said, he was 128, 1-2 with 84 knockouts, brother. When he was 85-0, he had 69 KOs. He had 40 in the first round. That's how dynamic. This is one of those situations where not only did he have power, we had phenomenal foot movement, and he had a hellacious speed, bro, where it was a combination of everything: the footwork, the quick jab, the counter moving, and of course, that power that is very much slept on. To get 40 knockouts in the first round, I mean, that goes to show you everything that he is. When he would lose his title, he would regain it again in 1955. You and I just talked about how much we love when boxers lose their titles and then get it back. And this is a guy, not only when he got it back, he held it on for a long time afterwards. I mean, Ali called him the king. He called him the master and the idol. That he was. Muhammad Ali modeled his fights after Sugar Ray Leonard. That footwork, he was going to bring it in there and put in his own little flair. So for me, I have him number one. Burt Sugar, my all-time favorite sports writer of all sports, not just boxing, but of all sports. I mean, he was like the Hemingway of writers when it comes to descriptive analysis. Had him in the number one of all time. So that is my number one. Do you have any thoughts on Sugar Ray Robinson?
Dude, a lot of people consider him the number one best of all time. Like, there's no arguing. All the accomplishments he's done in his time, the period of being the champion for so long. I mean, he is the root. He is the root, bro, of when people go far back. They talk about Jack Johnson and all these guys. I mean, there's no denying, bro. Sugar Ray Robinson, it's one of the first footprints into boxing today. You know, the style, you know, and where he came from. I mean, bro, the first Sugar, by the way.
Of
The
course,
first
of
Sugar,
course.
yeah, the first
First
Sugar,
Sugar,
by the
yeah.
way. Yeah, sir. So yeah, man, I agree with you. That's a great number one.
We're gonna have to do a top 3 best sugars of all time.
Yeah,
But yeah, bro, I can't add any more to that. He is I'm gonna take one of your words. He is definitely a pillar, if not the pillar, to what boxing is, man. And for him to be that dominant in time, I mean, it just goes to show you, man. I just hope he's not going to be forgotten, when it comes to talking about the greatest boxers of all time. His legacy to me is untouched, it's unmatched, and he deserves more than what he's been given in terms of his legacy. And we'll leave it at that. Do you have any boxers you left off?
yeah, this is just my opinion, all right, guys. Top American boxers, I did leave some out, and I really, really liked George Foreman, bro.
Dude, I have him right here. I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
George Foreman. I mean, the guy was loved, man. I mean,
Mhm.
I had George Foreman. I had Terry Norris. Um, dude,
Interesting.
yeah, we had some great, great boxers, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, but George Foreman, bro, he was gonna be at least my number 3. But it just I love Sweet Pea so much, and I know he had a backing. A lot of Americans backed him up, and he comes from a great state, and so I had him at number 3.
I'm cool with that. I had Foreman. I have it right here on my notes. I have Henry Armstrong as well. Now Henry Armstrong. I'm worried what happened to Henry Armstrong is what's going to happen to Sugar Ray Robinson. Henry Armstrong was this phenomenal super featherweight bantam heavyweight fighter that everybody's forgotten. And like I go back, Burt Sugar, if I'm not mistaken, had a number 3 of all time. I think ESPN had a number 5 of all time. And I have a feeling that's going to happen to Sugar Ray Robinson. I hope I'm not wrong on
Mm-hmm.
that, where he's just going to be a forgotten heavy, like Sugar Ray who?
Yeah.
Leonard? And so that's one. I have Marciano on there as well. I mean, his legacy is being tarnished, like being thrown into the mud because of all these other undefeated fighters. But we'll leave it at that, my man. Do you have any final words for our audience out there?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that's liking and commenting, and please share our channel so we can continue to grow. And if there's anything that y'all want us to talk about, or any boxer, top 3s or top 5s, let us know in the comment section and we'll do an episode.
Awesome, my man. So we'll go ahead and leave it at that, guys. Guys, go ahead and share our channel. Give us some topic ideas. We need the help. And until next time, don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.